Hello, welcome to Bluebell Storytime Online. I'm Miss Mandi from the B.B. Comer Memorial Library here in Sylacauga. The last few story times we've talked about different colors, and today is no exception. We're getting near the end, but today we're talking about the color black. And the first book I want to share with you is called The Black Rabbit. And I'd like to thank the author, Philippa Leathers, and the publisher, Candlewick Press, for allowing me to share this book with you. The Black Rabbit. Rabbit woke up one morning and stepped out of his burrow into the bright sunlight. It was a beautiful day. But something was wrong. He was not alone. Rabbit was scared. "Go away, Black Rabbit," he cried. But the Black Rabbit did not move. Rabbit ran, but the Black Rabbit was right behind him. Rabbit ran even faster. "The Black Rabbit won't find me here," thought Rabbit, and he hid behind a tree. But when Rabbit stepped out from behind the tree, there was Black Rabbit right in front of him. "Maybe he is not a good swimmer like me," thought Rabbit, and he jumped into the river and swam to the other side. But as he pulled himself up onto the bank, the Black Rabbit climbed out of the water too. "What do you want?" cried Rabbit, trembling. "Why are you following me?" But the Black Rabbit did not reply. Rabbit began to run again, faster than he had ever run before, straight into the deep, dark wood. The forest was dark and quiet. The Black Rabbit was nowhere to be seen. Oh, with a sigh of relief, Rabbit sat down and nibbled a carrot until he noticed two eyes shining brightly in the dark. "Oh no," thought Rabbit, "the Black Rabbit has found me." But it was not the Black Rabbit. Rabbit ran as fast as he could out of the deep dark forest with Wolf close behind him. Then he tripped. Rabbit scrambled to his feet, but it was too late. He shut his eyes tight and waited for Wolf to attack. But nothing happened. Because there, standing in the sunlight behind Rabbit, was the Black Rabbit. Rabbit smiled, and somehow he knew that the Black Rabbit was smiling back. Hand in hand, they bounced off across the field. Well, that was fun. That rabbit was afraid of his own shadow, wasn't he? But it worked out really well. All right, now I'd like to tell you a story about a black cat, and his name is Scat the cat. Once upon a time, there was a little black cat named Scat the cat. One day he looked around and saw that all his brothers and sisters and friends were black too. Scat decided he would like to be a different color, so he said, "I'm Scat the cat, I'm sassy and fat, and I can change my color just like that." So, let's see. There he is. Then Scat turned blue like the water in the sky. He walked to the lake, looked at himself, and fell right in. But poor Scat couldn't swim. He called for help, but his friends couldn't see him because he was blue just like the water. Just then his friend Timothy Turtle caught him and carried him safely to shore. Scat didn't want to be blue anymore, so he said, "I'm Scat the cat, I'm sassy and fat, and I can change my color just like that." All right, let's see what he is now. Then Scat turned yellow like the sun. On his way through the jungle, he met his cousin, Leo the lion. Leo said, "Grrr, I'm the only one who is supposed to be yellow." Scat was afraid, so he said, "I'm Scat the cat, I'm sassy and fat, and I can change my color just like that." Okay, let's see what he is now. All right. Next, Scat turned red like an apple. He went out to play with his brothers and sisters and friends, but they all laughed at him. "Who ever heard of a red cat?" they said. and no one would play with him. He felt sad. I don't want to be red. I don't want to be yellow. And I don't want to be blue. I want to be black again like my brothers and sisters. So he said, I'm Scat the cat, I'm sassy and fat, and I can change my color just like that. There he is. Scat changed back to black, and after that, he was happy just being himself. We just recently celebrated President's Day. That's a time this month when we celebrate all presidents, and two of our presidents, Abraham Lincoln and George Washington, have birthdays this month. So I want to read a book called If I Were President. I'd like to thank the author, Catherine Stier, and the illustrator, Diane DeSalvo Ryan, and the publisher, Albert Whitman and Company. I'd like to thank them for allowing me to share the book with you. If I Were President. It would be great to be President of the United States. If I were President, that means after a big campaign with speeches and posters and TV ads, the people would have chosen me as their leader. Years of planning and hard work would have prepared me for that day. If I were President, I'd promise to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, because that would be my job. Then I'd move to a mansion called the White House with more than 100 rooms, and I'd have to remember my new address, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Washington, D.C. If I were president, I could go bowling or visit a movie theater without ever leaving my house. I'd have my own chef and could eat whatever I wanted. I would even have 2 desserts every night. If I were president, I'd start work early each morning in the Oval Office. Although I'd try to do what's best for my country, not everyone would agree with my decisions. But I'd get help making those decisions from a group of people called my cabinet. If I were president, the people would be my boss, and I'd have to find out what they wanted. It wouldn't be easy. Different people would want different things. If I were president, I'd be in charge of the armed forces, the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines. If I were president, each year I'd give a speech to Congress called the State of the Union. All over the country, people would be watching and listening. I'd talk about how our country was doing and suggest ways to solve our problems. Imagine creating laws for a whole country. That's something Congress and I would work on together. Congress would present bills, which are ideas for new laws. If I didn't like an idea, I'd say no. That's called a veto. But if I agreed, I'd sign the bill and make it a law. If I were president, the agents of the Secret Service would guard me. Everywhere I'd go, they'd go too. If I were president, I'd travel in my limousine or in my own private airplane, Air Force One. I'd meet with the leaders of other nations. Maybe together we could work to improve our world. If I were president, I'd comfort families that had been in an earthquake, hurricane, or flood. Then I'd help them rebuild their towns. If I were president, one of my favorite jobs would be passing out medals to people who had done brave deeds. If I were president, in the spring, I'd toss the first pitch of the baseball season. And in winter, I'd light the nation's holiday tree. If I were president, my words and picture would appear in newspapers and magazines all over the world. Even my dog would make the headlines. If I were president, the house I grew up in would be famous. People would ask my mom for a tour of everything, even my treehouse. If I were president, the people could only elect me twice. That's 8 years altogether. Then I'd have to find a new job and a new house. Soon, a new president with different ideas would move into the White House. But just like me, the new president would work hard for the good of the country. If I were president, they might someday make a statue of me, like the white marble statue of Abraham Lincoln in the Lincoln Memorial, or the president's heads carved into Mount Rushmore. Or someday my face might show up on the country's money. Did you know President Lincoln is on the penny, President Jefferson is on the nickel, and President Washington is on the dollar bill? And who knows, someday I might just be president of the United States. You might. That would be exciting. Now, I do want to teach you about a couple of the coins they talked about in the book. On the penny is a picture of Abraham Lincoln, and here's a little song to help remember that. Whose fine face is on the penny, on the penny, on the penny? Whose fine face is on the penny? Abraham Lincoln. And then on the quarter is a picture of George Washington. Whose fine face is on the quarter, on the quarter, on the quarter? Whose fine face is on the quarter? George Washington. Great. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you've had a good day celebrating President's